Have you ever watched an episode of the show What Would You Do? It's where average citizens are set up by a camera crew to be a part of a social experiment. I know what you're probably thinking just now. You feel like you're in a social experiment. Yep, it does seem that way. And fear is the antagonist. And my next guest, it seems, was in several fear-themed social experiments himself, including surviving a DMV holdup and peeing his pants on national television. Now, some would feel that this is incredibly unlucky, but these experiences have given him plenty of teachable material for his business. Today, the actuary turned executive coach is going to share his personal fear factor stories and the lessons that tell us why we should lean into fear on the regular. Strategy and heart, freaked out and thriving, fellow curiositor David Wood. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. Hello.
It seems that curiosity did not kill the cat, but it did get you into some seriously sticky situations, all of which just freak me out thinking about them. So which of these fear factor scenarios do you want to tell us about first?
Well, yeah, the national TV one is a good one. It might have been the most scared I've ever been. Not counting things where my life was actually in danger, like jumping off a mountain in Nepal with a paraglider strapped to my back and going up under 10,000 feet under a storm cloud. You know, that was terrifying too, but there's a rational, logical reason. When I was, years ago, I decided to take 6 months off work and do whatever I wanted. And it's a great question. I encourage everyone to ask themselves that question. What would I do if I had 6 months to do anything I wanted? And I always wanted to be an entertainer. I wanted to be one of those people at the ski fields that sings Blame It on the Boogie with a black afro and wears a blonde ABBA wig and sings SOS. And so I decided to do that. And about a month into this new career, and by the way, I can't really sing, but I still wanted to do it. A month into this career, I decided to audition for a TV show. In Australia, it was called Hey Hey It's Saturday, and they had a segment called Red Faces where you would compete with someone else and you would get gonged. Sometimes inside of 5 seconds, you'd be gonged. So embarrassing, humiliating, but I thought if I got on that show, I could publicize my new business. Mr. Woody was my stage name, and I thought maybe people will book me because of this. So I went and auditioned with 300 other people, and within a week I got a call saying, we want you. We want you next week. Fly to Melbourne. We'll put you up in a hotel. We'll pay for you to fly there, go on national TV, do your thing. And so there I am in the green room, about to go on. I'm with 2 chainsaw jugglers who had just been smoking weed in a hotel room. I'm like, are you crazy? You're going to juggle chainsaws stoned and you're going to do it on national TV. I couldn't believe it. Maybe I should have smoked because I'm freaking out so much that I was feeling like I had to pee, and I'd already peed. And I'm like, oh my God, what if I pee my pants while I'm wearing a kilt on national TV? And so now I was even more terrified, and I had my overnight bag, and while I was so scared of this, 3 drops of urine actually came out. So I didn't pee my pants, but 3 drops came out. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I got my overnight bag and I put 2 extra pairs of underpants on in the hope that maybe that would absorb something, and walked out on stage and did my song in a kilt on national TV. So I didn't, well, technically, maybe you could say I peed my pants, but it was more I had to overcome the fear of looking like an absolute idiot, and then even worse, the fear of peeing my pants on national TV. And I can't imagine much worse when it comes to embarrassment.
No, that's pretty up there as far as recurring nightmares and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you always been in the habit of going after things you know are going to freak you out?
Yeah. I didn't understand why until later in life, but like as a kid, or now as an adult, I would regret the things that I didn't do, because if fear was in the way. So the women that I never asked out because I was worried about getting no, I regret every single one of those. The bully whose nose I didn't punch in school, and maybe I'd take a beating, but I wish I'd done it just once. I wish I'd done it. And instead I didn't. I let fear run me, and so I have regret. So as I got older, I would gravitate towards situations that were scary because I don't like being run by fear. So I'm scared of heights. So I learned how to hang glide and paraglide, and I wanted to conquer that fear. I have abandonment issues. I lost my sister when I was little, and so dating in open relationships is terrifying to me. Because dating anyone, there's a chance that you might break up, you might lose the partner. But in open relationships, there's already someone else in the picture that they're dating. So I would, and speaking on stage, I still get scared. I'm really good at it, but I still get scared. You wouldn't think so after doing like 500 speeches. It's got to be at least 300 or 350 appearances if you count podcasts, and yet still you'd be surprised how nervous I can get. I can get nervous in a group of 6 people when it's going to be my turn to share my name and what I do. So yeah, my psychiatrist in the last few years, I went to a new psychiatrist, and he said, you seem almost counterphobic. And I didn't know that was a word. But apparently it is. It's a thing that some people lean into their fears. Now, fortunately, it's paid off because a lot of the things that used to scare me don't scare me anymore. I can come on this podcast and talk to you. I'm not the slightest bit nervous about it. I can jump off a cliff with something attached to me and do it. I can skydive. I can have tough conversations, some conversations that other people are like, no, I'm not going to do that. I can see a way to do it because I've had 1,000 of them. So I think there are lots of benefits as long as we don't go too far. Because that's something I had to learn the hard way, is we don't want to traumatize ourselves. So you want to find your edge and ride your edge. That's the sweet spot. Don't stay too stagnant. Don't stay too safe, because the discomfort, the comfort zone can get very uncomfortable over time. But don't go and do something that's going to traumatize you to the point where you're never going to want to do it again. We want to find that spot in the middle.
So the paraglider collapsing at 300 feet, which is like, I think 91 meters. Did you ever paraglide again?
Yes.
Really?
I did. And I'm a little hesitant to say it because I could see how another person watching it could be like, wouldn't you call that quite a clue? So I was 300 feet above the ocean once, and it gets worse. I'd had trouble with my wing, my paraglider. I had trouble. I'd been flying, and I'd tried this technique that reduces the size of your wing so you can come down faster in a controlled descent. It's called big ears. So you make the wing smaller. And I'd done that several times, and each time weird stuff happened. The wing didn't fly right. I felt like I was falling faster than I should. Something was just off. And then I'd recover. And I'm like, I got to work this out. I got to work out what's going on. So I landed, and I talked to the instructors, and they said, well, you might be making a mistake. Do you want to do it again, and I'll watch you? And another instructor, I said, should I do it? He said, it's your life. It's your wing. You've got to make the decision. Because I could have just mailed it off to Australia and had it inspected. But I thought, maybe I'm doing something wrong. I'll try one more time. This was time number 7. But this time watched by the instructor with an earpiece in my ear. I've got a radio connection. So I get up there. He's watching me. He tells me what to do. I do it one more time. And now, instead of the problem that I had before, it went into full collapse, and I plummeted towards the earth. And he's speaking in my ear. I don't remember a word of what he said, but he says that I did everything that he said, whether it was by instinct or he told me. And at 80 feet left above the ocean, I recovered the wing, managed to avoid the cliff, and then managed to scrape up enough lift that I got back up onto the cliff and didn't have to land into the ocean, which can also kill you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially now, from 300 feet descent.
Yes. Now, when you tell any expert that you had a collapse, they don't blink. They all ask the same question: at what height? Now, the layperson would think the higher you are, the scarier. No. If you're 3,000 feet, you have a collapse, no big deal. Because you've got plenty of time to reinflate the wing, and you've got a reserve chute normally when you're flying that high that you pull out the reserve. 300 feet, not going to happen. No reserve chute. So whenever they say how high, and I say 300 feet, that's when they go, oh my God, how did you recover? Now and I did kiss the earth, and I don't think I've ever been more scared than that. And you'd think, well, maybe I'd give it up. But I thought, no, I sent the wing away to be inspected. Turns out it was a bad wing. There were some problems with that wing. It wasn't safe. I got a refund from the guy who sold it to me. And then I bought a good quality wing. I got it tested. And I figured now I know what caused that. So I'm willing to keep going. Then I had another accident. This time, that one you would call an incident because no one was hurt. The other one was an accident. I was only 10 or 15 feet above the ground, and I'd done amazing stuff that day. Come down, was 1 foot above the ground, about to touch down, and a little bubble of air caught me, lifted me up to 10 or 15 feet, and then I had a collapse and I fell onto my butt. That fractured my spine. And it was at that point I decided if I'm going to keep going, I have to watch accident videos and see what I'm up against and really get, not just put my head in the sand. And if I'm willing to keep flying after watching those accident videos, then I will become the best pilot in the world. I'll do intensive training and I'll fly as safe as possible. Well, I watched the videos and I decided not to fly. I'm like, oh my God, who needs fiction and who needs horror stories when you've got real life situations caught on video? And I got clear it's not if, but when. Because I'd actually had 2 accidents when I was younger in a hang glider, and I walked away from both of them. But it's just, these are all clues showing me. So that's an example of where I think, not that it was wrong to fly, but after I was getting the clues that this is very, very dangerous, and at some point I'm probably going to die. That's when I decided to give that up. And the same day I sold my motorcycle, because apparently that's more dangerous than paragliding. And if I can't justify the paraglider, I can't justify the motorcycle. So ride your edge, like go for your edge and ride your edge, but work out what's too far. And don't take stupid risks. There are a bunch of things we do that have no upside. Like not wearing a seatbelt in the car. You are an absolute idiot. Okay, you feel a little more comfortable. Wear the damn seatbelt. After a week or two, you're not even going to notice the thing. And then if you are in an accident, at that point, when you're about to smash into something, how glad are you going to be that you did the smart thing? Same in Colorado, you don't have to wear a helmet. State law. I don't understand it. It feels nice to not have a helmet. You got the wind in your hair. Yeah, you've also got the road or another car in your hair. If something goes wrong, and it's not usually if, but when it comes to a motorcycle, I wonder how many people in the world have been riding for 30 years and not come off or had an accident, right? It's got to be almost nobody. So it's not if, but when. And when that thing does happen and you're flying through the air, how grateful are you going to be that you wore the helmet? Smoking's a similar one, but I can see how you smoke cigarettes. You might enjoy how it makes you feel. So you've got that. You got to balance that up against lung cancer. I still don't think people are making a very rational decision. But then again, I eat sugar from time to time, and that's not
And
particularly
that's not
rational.
rational. Yeah. So riding the edge of your fear and, assessing the dangers if there are physical dangers. But what's the benefit of even doing any of this? Because we love watching videos like this. We love listening to stories like this because we can feel the thrill through the story. But most of us, I gotta say, David, we are not emulating your process. You are a very interesting person. So why should we lean into fear? What good does it do for us that we should go out of our way to do it?
Yeah, great. And let's be clear, I'm not talking about jumping off a cliff, right? I'm not talking about doing crazy stuff that doesn't have a lot of upside. Now, if you love flying, then okay, there's an upside and you might want to balance it out. But the main reason is there are lots of benefits that come out of that. Let's take the opposite. Let's suppose you never take a risk. Let's suppose you never hear a no. Then what kind of life is that? Let's suppose you don't start a new business because you're afraid. Are you going to, on your deathbed, are you going to say, boy, I'm really glad I missed those lumps from trying something and failing? No. What we will regret is that we didn't go for it, is that we didn't try. So there's a process to this. One, you want to identify your edge. Find where it is, because your brain will hide these things from you. So, and I have an exercise, if you like, about how to identify your edge. And then two, do some risk assessment on it. What's the downside? What could go wrong? Okay, I could have someone yell at me. I could have my partner take the kids and divorce me. I could have, I could lose my job. I could go to prison. Like some things have a really big upside. I could die if I go paragliding. But what's the upside? Well, I could feel closer with my partner. I could have peace of mind. I could have a business where I get to pick my own hours and do what I want and be my own boss. If I reach out and ask that celebrity to endorse my product, I could have a really amazing celebrity. Here's an edge I recently followed. I've been idolizing Alan Alda from M.A.S.H for all my life. Love him, love his values, love how he shows up. And I just wanted to connect with him in some way. And for a couple of years, it kept being on my mind. And then I'd have an assistant reach out and send an email and just see if there's a way And then finally, one day, I went and joined his Patreon group, which is a fundraiser for his podcast. And part of that is once a month, you get to join a video call with him. And it took years to where I actually went and did, went and shut it. And then I get there on that call, and they said, any questions for Alan? And this was scary. This was edgy for me. I was the first one with my hand up. 50 people on the call. And I said, Alan, this is what I love about you. What would it take to have you on my podcast? And he didn't say no. He said, why don't you reach out to my producer and we'll see what we can do? And that's still in train. I every now and then I nudge her and I chase her up. So the benefit is that you can actually get what you want. And then on your deathbed, you can say, I gave it everything. I really went for it. And that's really what I want for people.
I think that's what, in the end, we all want to is more of a regretless life. I heard a quote. It was Matthew McConaughey's dad saying, I'd rather lose money having fun than making money being bored. And that's certainly part of that fear is your vocation and what you choose to do. So we have a few minutes left. Do you want to share that process of finding your edge? Because I think my listeners would really enjoy that.
Yeah. Take a blank sheet of paper and write at the top of it, what would I do if I was fearless? We're not saying you're going to do even any of it, but we want to just bring it up. And you can maybe put the page into 4 grids. One grid is business or your job. And one grid could be your partner if you have one, or finding a partner. The other one could be your kids, your friends and family, or one could be just personally, what I want to do before I die. One thing for me that's been popping up over the years is I'd love to move to LA at some point and pursue acting full time. Well, this year I started talking about it, and that was an edge, just to tell people, yep, it's been a secret dream. And then one of my friends is an actress, and she said, I'm going to audition for this local play of Dracula. Do you want to come with me and audition? And my first thought is like, oh my God, are you kidding? I don't know how to audition. I don't have acting experience. I don't know what to do. But I said yes, because I want to lean into that fear and see what can happen. Well, guess what? They offered me the lead. So now tonight, I'm going to start 5 weeks of rehearsals for Dracula, the play. And if I did not lean into that edge, I wouldn't be doing this. And I'm so excited.
I'm so excited for you too. And that's so cool that happens tonight. And you're right. We wouldn't have unique experiences if we didn't lean into the fear or find the edge, like you said. And I would imagine that it would create some sort of like resilience when fearful things happen to us too, like the DMV holdup. Because the DMV holdup, that happened, was that after the paraglider accident?
No, that was way before.
Oh, really?
That must have been 30 years ago. I was in the armed holdup.
And tell us about that.
Yeah. So I just walked into the Department of Motor Vehicles in Australia to get something signed, and my buddy was with me. And I'm at the counter, and someone jumped the counter wearing a ski mask. And it's like instantly in my brain, it's like what the words were, see ya. And I just turned around, walked straight for the door. That was it. Like, ski mask, jumping counter. I'm just going to walk. No one else moved in the entire place. So I'm proud that I took some action. As I got to the door, another guy in a mask came through the door holding a gun, and he grabbed me and said, you're not going anywhere. And apparently that was the point my friend turned around and saw a guy with a gun holding me. And he said he thought, oh, Dave, what have you gotten us into now? And the guy was giving directions, and I'm very good at taking directions. He said, right, you over against that wall. Don't look at me. I'm like, okay, against the wall. He said to people, don't put your hands up. Keep your hands down. All right, hands down. He said some people are on the floor. He said, get up off the floor, because he wanted it to look normal from the outside.
Oh, okay.
And so, all right, up off the floor, facing the wall, hands down, got it. Check, check, check. And then he said, all right, anyone who follows us, we shoot you. And they ran out the door. I'm like, that's very clear. I'm going to stay right here. And then my friend Graham, and to this day, I love him for this. First words out of his mouth were, Dave, would you witness this form for me?
Oh my gosh.
Cool as a cucumber. Dave, would you witness this form for me? I'm like, yeah, sure, brother. That's about the most I think he and I ever talked about it. But yeah, that's one scary situation that I actually do not feel traumatized by, because I didn't react with a lot of fear. I just reacted with literal listening to that situation. Now I've done a lot of other things that have been traumatizing, and I've carried them to this day. So again, find your edge, ride your edge. Don't go beyond it, but also don't take this as license to just stay safe all the time. We do that naturally, most of us. You don't need me to tell you to do that. I'm here to say, what might you regret on your deathbed if you didn't go for it? Let's get clear on that now. Then you can decide if you're going to get a little help maybe to screw up your courage and go and do it. That's one of the things I do with my clients, is to spot where fear is running them and then see if they want some help moving that direction. Maybe they don't. If they do, so many things you can do to tweak it, make it a little easier. It's like, okay, maybe you're not willing to jump off the cliff, but maybe you do a day of training on the sand dunes in a paraglider, right? That's, you could use that as a metaphor for anything.
Well, and like
That's
you
sometimes
said,
how
you had you told people that you were going to move to LA and that you had this thought to be an actor. So, and that was like you're sneaking up to the idea of actually auditioning. So what I love about that is for somebody who is listening or watching this and says, you know what, death is very illuminating. With all the events happening, I really don't want to live a life where at the end I have many regrets. What do I do? Instead of jumping in and potentially traumatizing themselves, as you said, they can inch forward and overcome that way.
Yes. So again, back to the acting, I'll use some inches as examples. I started listening to a podcast on an acting career, right? That's a way I can start shifting my thinking and get new ideas. And then I joined a Zoom call. Every 2 weeks, this guy does a Zoom call on an acting career. And then I went looking for a local teacher. Found a guy. He's got an in-person class. It's 4 hours every Tuesday night. Started that. Then my friend says, why don't you come and audition for this? So I did. And then while I was at it, I thought, where can you audition for stuff? So I went and found a website, and I went and auditioned for something else. Guess what? I got that too. I auditioned for 2 things. I got a yes from both. So now I'm doing this improv troupe called Playback Theater. And then I thought, I'd like to learn accents. I've always wanted to be good at accents. So, I want to do, the Scottish accent is great. Let's do that. And, we do an American accent from time to time.
That wasn't too bad. I mean, can't figure out like what state that was representing, but it definitely sounded.
I do declare.
Oh, don't get out of here with that. No,
horses.
You're fired. Too much.
But I want to learn all of them. I want to do a Southern. I want to do Boston. I want to do New York. I want to do Standard American. I want to do British Cockney. I want to do Standard British. I want to do Irish. Anyway. As I started these little micro movements, these inches, other things started popping up. And you can use that with anything you want to do. Mm-hmm. Maybe you don't want to go and ask Richard Branson to write the foreword to your book. Maybe that's too scary. I did do that once. That was very edgy. But maybe there's someone else that's less scary. Or maybe you could just go and agree to do some research on him and listen to a couple of interviews and see, or read his autobiography and see if you can learn something about him, might give you an in to approaching him. There's little things we can take off. We don't have to do everything cold turkey.
I love it. This has been such a great talk. Can you, as we wrap up, share where people can stay in touch with you?
Yeah, for sure. I created a link with a gift basket of goodies for listeners, and it'll take you to a hidden page on my website. So there'll be a link to a book I'm writing called Name That Mouse, which is all about transparency and how that can help you in business and in life. There's a cheat sheet on how to double your revenue in the shortest amount of time. And if you're interested in coaching with me, there's a way we can set up a call and see if we'd be a fit for each other. All of these things you can do at myfocusgift.com. Perfect. So I like giving the gift of focus. So it's myfocusgift.com.
Thank you so much, David. This has been fantastic. Hey, you're still here. That's awesome. I hope to see you next week too. I talk with the most interesting people that you've probably never heard of. Most of them are paradoxical and bring an opportunity for you to grow as a person. So if you like bright, meaningful entertainment, be sure to have a look around, hit subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications.